In tonight's headlines, the government has been urged to make utility firms pay the price for small-scale power outages. Transport Chief Lam Sai-hung expresses concerns over Cathay Pacific's flight reductions. And public housing rent is set to go up later this year with the adjustment based on tenants' income.
Lawmaker Michael Tian has urged the government to explore new ways to hold utility firms accountable for small-scale blackouts. This comes a day after almost 400 residents of Cheong-on Estate in Tsing-yi were affected by a 19-minute outage. Supplier CLP Power was criticized as it was the second electricity disruption in Tsing-yi in a week. Under the existing system, CLP Power Company can be penalized for a major supply disruption through a formula whereby the number of affected users is multiplied by the duration of the outage. If the total exceeds 15 million minutes, then the company will be fined 0.015% of its permitted return. Under the current formula, yesterday's power disruption amounted to only 33,368 minutes.
In this case, actually, a particular building, the number of people affected is so small that they will never trigger off that penalty. I wouldn't go as far as to say that every little incident you have to go down to the number of people affected, but maybe the number of such incidents in a particular period of time should be something that's taken into account at the end of the year to constitute another level of penalty.
Tsing-yi District Councillor Lo Yun-ting told RTHK that it is unacceptable to have 2 power disruptions in a week, saying residents are concerned. She urged CLP Power to be more meticulous when carrying out inspections, adding that it should check the electricity system of other public housing estates in Tsing-yi. Maisie Mok, Cable News. Transport Minister Lam Sai-hung says he's highly concerned about Cathay Pacific cutting flights this month and next. The city's flagship carrier announced yesterday that an average of 12 flights per day during the Lunar New Year peak season will be affected in order to improve what it called its operational resilience. Lam suggested that Cathay switch affected passengers to other airlines to minimize inconvenience. He also urged the airline to review its manpower arrangement after the Aircrew Officers Association criticized the shortage of pilots. Lawmaker Gary Chen, whose flight to the mainland this Thursday has been cancelled, also called for improvements. Cathay cancelled at least 21 flights today, including 6 between Hong Kong and Taiwan.
The Housing Department plans to raise public housing rents to boost its revenue. The chairman of the Housing Authority's Finance Committee, Billy Mack, said rents will be reviewed and adjusted in the third quarter of this year. The increase will be based on the income assessment of tenants. Mack said the authority has reserves to build 110,000 flats.
In the short run, we don't have the pressure, okay, because we do have some reserve on hand. But in the long run, if we are required to double the building of the public housing, and then most probably the need for more resources will be latter part of the plan. I think that is around maybe years 2028 to 29 or beyond.
The authority recorded a profit of $12.6 billion in the current financial year, down $3.6 billion from its estimate. It expects a $1.1 billion loss from rents in the next fiscal year. Janice Yu, Cable News. The first Hong Kong Brands and Products Expo since the pandemic closed today, with vendors lamenting that the weak economy has not boosted sales despite the lure of big discounts. The overall profit for the 24-day event at Victoria Park was over $1 billion, about the same as the fair in 2022. But several of the 400 exhibitors expect to make a loss, saying many Hong Kongers prefer to shop on the mainland nowadays. According to the organizer, the Chinese Manufacturers Association, the number of visitors was stable at 1.3 million. About 10% were from the mainland or overseas.
China has detained a foreigner on suspicion of spying for the British intelligence service MI6. The person, identified only as Huang, is said to be from a third country and headed a foreign consultancy. According to the Ministry of State Security, the suspect has been in contact with British intelligence for nearly a decade. The person is accused of visiting China to collect classified information for the British government and recruit potential spies. The ministry has not named the consulting firm and provided no details about Huang's gender, age, or nationality.
The Al Jazeera TV network has condemned Israel after 2 more journalists were killed in Gaza. One was Hamza Dadou, son of the station's Gaza bureau chief Wa'il Dadou. Hamza Dadou also worked for Al Jazeera. The other journalist, Mustafa Thuraya, was a freelancer. Wa'il Dadou himself was recently injured in an attack, and his wife and 2 other children were killed earlier. Across Gaza, dozens more Palestinians have been killed, taking the death toll to nearly 23,000 in Israel's ongoing offensive since a Hamas attack in October. Relief groups say 10 children a day have lost limbs in the past 3 months and will need lifetime support as hospitals struggle to cope.
We have children who've just been hit by shrapnel. We have children who've just been hit by gunfire. We've had a woman inside who had to wait 6 days in order to access treatment because the fighting around her was so severe.
Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has secured a 4th straight term in office following a landslide victory in a controversial election that was boycotted by the main opposition party. Her Awami League and its allies won 223 of the 299 parliamentary seats contested. The main opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party and its partners rejected the results and accused the government of stifling dissent and failing to conduct free and fair polls. Officials put the voter turnout at 40%, but critics said the figure was inflated.
Financial Secretary Paul Chan says expanding the Convention and Exhibition Center, or CNE, can boost the city's status as a hub for MICE, meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions.
Upon completion of these projects, our CNE space will increase by more than 40% to over 220,000 square meters. I hope that will provide more space for business people to meet and explore partnership opportunities here in Hong Kong for many years to come, further boosting our status as the prime international MICE destination.
Speaking at the opening of the Hong Kong Toys and Games Fair, Chan noted that profits in Asia's toy industry increased by 3.5% per year during the pandemic. Southeast Asia is a major market for Hong Kong toys, with exports to the region soaring from 8.4% in 2021 to 20.4% in the first 11 months of last year. The toy fair at the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai closes on Thursday. Janice Yu, Cable News.
There's been more gloom in the Hong Kong stock market, which is having its worst start to a year in almost 2 decades. The Hang Seng Index gave up 1.9% as investors expressed fresh concern over the mainland economy. Economic data later this week will paint a clearer picture on the state of the world's second biggest economy. Techs were among the hardest hit, with the index for the sector plunging to a 13-month low. Online gaming giant NetEase plunged 3.6%, while Tencent lost 1.4%.